Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Epic Life Workshop number 4. So this is the last workshop. I'm really excited because with that workshop, we also launched the bootcamp. So by now, you should have received a mail with all the information for the 48-hour promotion. If you signed up for the waiting list or in my newsletter, or if you haven't, there's a link. Hi, everyone. There's a link right below here. So that being said, so just to get like the information out there, the bootcamp's launched. We start next Saturday officially with the live calls. That being said, once you sign up now, you get access to the introduction materials, and then starting next week, they will be open like each week you get access to one more pillar. And so the mission will be only for 7 days and only for 48 hours. Now we have the early bird prize if you get the promotional code through signing up. Okay, that being said, let's dive in. So because we have 3 pillars left. So we're talking about wealth management, we're talking about vocation, and we're talking about priority management. I would love, hi Christy, hi Linda, hi Mohammed, hi Duke, hi Ellen. And I think I missed somebody. Yeah, no, I got everybody who already wrote something. So I want to make sure that we get through all of this. So let's, for today, go through the 3 pillars. And I'll try to keep the time a little bit more in mind so that we don't go overboard with the 3, so we get definitely through everything. And then I'll say if you have any questions to each of the pillars every time I go through them. And then in the end, you can say like your overall questions, or if you have questions towards the boot camp, perfectly fine. Okay, great. Hi, Jeffrey. So the way we do the pillars, and this is something you can also do at home. Of course, it's better like if you have a group and you have like the assignments. But when I talk about the pillars, on the one hand, it's important to understand why they're so important and how to access them. But it's also important to include them in your weekly schedule. So we have templates and all of that, but you can also do this at home if you're doing this by yourself. So if we talk about wealth management, first off, especially for INFJs, I know most of us are INFJs, there's always this notion wealth management is completely unnecessary. It's not what I ethically stand for, because it's either I'm an idealist or I'm a capitalist, sort of thing, right? Either I care about money or I care about my ideals. And why should I want more money? It's not going to make me more happy. And like all of these stories. And I've been somebody who has told these stories and who's listened to those stories over and over again. I didn't want to look into that direction, not realizing how much I was actually missing out on living more of that life on my terms. Because, you know, in the end, most of the time you won't be able to create your vocation and your wealth management at the same time. That does not mean that you don't start with all of them. Like, I think it's extremely important that we lean into vocation so that you live out your purpose starting today. But it's probably not going to be the thing that's going to generate money like that first day. You can, like, there are great ways, and I encourage everybody, if you start living that out, to find ways how it will bring you in any kind of wealth. Like, even if it's $5 a month, like start that you see, okay, it's possible for me to add value in a way that is in alignment with who I am, and this generates income, right? This is very important, and there are great ways to do that. I wasn't doing that in the beginning, but I would definitely recommend doing that if you start something new. But that being said, at the same time, to not neglect the wealth management path, to see like, is there other possibilities for me to create more income for myself? Because this will give me the opportunity, first off, to create more freedom. If I want to, let go of a job that I don't want to do, money will come in handy. Like when I quit my job in order to do this full time, I had around 10 months saved up, so I could actually do that. And so the moment I started this channel, which was my vocation, it was my way of giving back, it was my way of living out my truth, I also said, okay, I'm going to challenge myself and going and getting a better job. Because it's really about like putting that into your system, understanding that money and wealth is energy. There's nothing bad about it. There's not like they're greedy, rich people, and they're generous and amazing, wealthy, and rich people as well. And you can decide what you can do in the world with it, right? It doesn't have to be for fancy cars and all of that. It can be like, the way you give back. I think like with our new economy, it has gotten a lot of this, and it's probably not so visible for, like the mainstream, but I see it because I'm like so entrenched in it, like that most of us have this inclination to generate more income because it will, create not just freedom for us, but we can also give back in a good way. We can either invest into our vocation or we can invest into charities and give back. So this is the first thing, like try to see it as something good that you should aim for, right? Don't neglect it because you feel like, oh, it's not possible for me to get. Because if we don't put it in our mind, we're not even going to aim for that. And then the second one is to, see how we can include this into our schedule. So one way you could say, okay, for me to get a better income, like, or more money into my life, it could be that I, apply for a better job. That will be a task I put on my plate, right? And so it could be that you say, every Saturday morning, I, allocate 2 hours of my day to write applications. And it will be something that I'm not going to go for another job that's going to give me the same kind of like income. No, we're aiming for higher. Like, does it feel uncomfortable when I say these things? Like, if it makes you cringe a little bit and, I shouldn't want this, because this is like one of the things I hear from INFJ so much. There's like this unwillingness of wanting money because there's such a negative connotation to it. When in the end, as I said, it's like taking more responsibility of energy. That's all it is. You have more possibilities to allocate that money in a way that you seem fit, right? Otherwise, it's just like in other people's hands. And once it's in your hands, you can decide what you're going to do with it. Let's forget about the fact that the only people who really think about, the only people who don't think about money, really don't think about money or don't worry about the money are people who actually have enough, right? It can be that you say, I'm going to start paying off my debt, and that you have you have plans. You need to allocate for this, right? And so this is something we talk in the boot camp as well. We have we have our weekly schedules and assignments, and it's not like everybody has to be transparent about what they do, but we hold each other accountable that, we're going to stick to those things, right? It's just like, if you would say, okay, if I would stick to this plan, then I would be debt free in 3 years or whatever it is, or in a year. And if you have people who just say, did you do this week? Did you allocate for this? Did you get excited about this? Like, the mindset changes. And the good thing is, if you're in a community like ours, we know why we're doing this. This is not coming out of, okay, you have to sacrifice your well-being. You have to sacrifice your free time. You have to it's all about just greed and like what for? That's not what we're doing. And that's not our product. That's not our message. That's not what we do. So we know how to find a balance while always making sure that we feel good about it. Like, there's no, you're not supposed to sacrifice your well-being. Like, when I went for that higher job, of course, yes, it did mean at that moment more work. It meant a new challenge, but it also meant that it gave me an opportunity to grow. Like, every single time you up level in any kind of way, so you aim for more, you surround yourself with people who also have more energy. And that in itself, especially as an INFJ, gives you you absorb so much from that energy that helps you to get you closer to your goal, right? And it can be something completely different. Yeah. So hi everyone. Hi mama. So it just gives you an opportunity to grow by yourself. So as long as you have it in your mind, oh, making money is a bad thing, you're standing in your own way, right? It doesn't have to mean you have to sell out. It doesn't mean that you have to live how everybody else lives, that you use the money for unnecessary things. It can fuel your vocation. That's something also we talk about. It can help you to jumpstart all that process, everything that you want to do. If you want to become a writer, taking writing classes, going and becoming whatever it is that you want. And we're going to talk a little bit in vocation part about how what that really is and how to do that, right? But in whatever it is, Guys, start seeing it as something positive, right? It's just like it's time that we stop having all those negative connotations about it and we don't talk about it. We can make our money our friend and wealth management our friend. So before we move on to vocation, do you have any questions when it comes to wealth management and maybe why we're including it in one of the pillars and why I think it's so important? Like maybe you can write me and I'll add it to this. Like, you know how I said I created the 5 pillars in like an reverse engineered it. So I looked how I was able to create my life with everything that I do. And right now I'm at a point, of course, like I'm my own boss. I work my own hours. I work maybe like 4 hours a day. I do something that I love. I generate like well-being for others. Like I bring a value and a service that I believe in. And I know that I wouldn't have been able to do all of this if I wasn't looking into it all in a way of, okay, this also has to generate income for me, or whatever I do before that has to be okay. Like I had to learn first off that I deserve it. And I second of all had to understand that it's okay for me to take responsibility for that, right? Because like in order for me to be able to do this, I have to be not reliant on that job that keeps me, making it by. If we're living now from a job that is like paycheck to paycheck, like how are you going to get out of that? Right. And so the great way, and that's how we do it also in the boot camp. And that's how it is. Yeah, Duke, I'm getting back to your questions. Write me a little bit more about what you want to know about this. The thing is this, you got to do all of them at the same time. Because if you say, okay, first off, I'm just going to care about making money. Then, but you go way more into the direction of I'm doing a job I hate. I'm doing something that, like gets me closer more with people who don't share my values. I'm not working on my relationships. I'm not working on my energy, like physical energy management. And on top of everything, I haven't even started looking into my priorities or my vocation. Yeah, that's going to get you in the wrong direction. Correct. Like that's if this is how you're going, I would say, please don't care about money, like making money as one of the main priorities. But if you say, I'm going to do all of them, I'm going to have vocation in my life. So no matter what, I will start building on that today. I will make sure that my relationships help me to become the person I want to be. So I make sure, do I have the people around me who are like, do I have mentors around me? Do I have people that encourage me? How are the dynamics with the people in my life? I make sure that my health is on point, so I have the energy to go there, because as we talked about, the fuel you need in the beginning is very strong. And also priority management. We'll talk about that a little later. It's more like understanding, well, what do I prioritize in my life? Is it like maybe that I do things that I have to do in order to things that really make the difference? Like we're going to talk about what is urgent versus what is important. Okay. So, but let's first see if there are questions concerning wealth management. So Duke says, I have a challenge to ask for money. I'm creating my own course. Great. Okay. Now I got your questions. I understood that. Duke, it's a practice. It really is a practice. It's more like saying, like, some people say there's it's like what I feel comfortable with, right? If you right now don't feel comfortable asking for like doing something that you love, then it's like accumulate, like you gotta accumulate, like you gotta get accustomed to that kind of new sphere. So like start with something that is gonna make you feel uncomfortable. Like if you say, okay, the first course I'm gonna offer is going to be early developer course or a first draft course or something like this. And because I do this, I will ask for, I don't know, let's say the course is worth $300, right? And you say, okay, but the first one I'm going to ask for 50. Or you can say, I'm going to start asking for 10. Like the first offer I had was my ebook, and the ebook was $27 at the time. I think I was 5 or 6 years ago. And I didn't feel bad about it because I was giving so much free value. It was like, nowadays I have people who write me after the videos, oh, I think it's like, some people might get offended of the fact that you like advertise your boot camp or your private coaching and whatever. And I'm like, really? Like you get so much free information every single week, twice a week, the newsletter, like there's so much free stuff. And so if you feel like in the end, you're not forcing anybody to pay for that. And if you want to say, okay, I want to get people accustomed to that, you can offer free material. And there is also okay for you to have like a time where you say, I'm using this in order to practice. But they're always like an apprenticeship. But there has to be like a point where you say, okay, I'm going to do this for a month and then it's over. Or I'm going to have free material, but like starting, like, especially when you do this, I would definitely recommend like that off. Like you always have to have an offer that has a money value attached to it. Not so much because this is the product that's going to make you rich one day, or because this is like, like that thing. It's more about getting accustomed to and feeling okay with like giving the thing you bring value. Because if you're saying my product doesn't cost anything, it's like saying my product isn't worth anything. Like, if you're giving something to people and they will improve and this will improve their life, and in the like, how can, like, you have to believe that this is worth it. People will never believe this if you don't believe it. And in the beginning, that's what I'm saying, like if you would say, okay, I charge $10,000 for it, maybe like the market wouldn't pay it, but maybe like you don't believe that's what it's worth, right? And so you gotta like take those steps. Like what is something that you would feel comfortable with, and start. Like it can be $10, it can be $50, but you gotta have something that has like a product, like that has a price tag, because otherwise you're just having a hobby. And that hobby is not helping you to develop your vocation further. On top of everything, also think about your customers. They will be much more likely to give like enough attention to your product, like give it the chance to transform their life if it costs something. Very often when you get stuff for free, people don't take it seriously. But if they invest in themselves and you're the vehicle, you're the guide, then, like you're bringing something. And in a lot of ways, we also have to get to a point, like, if they don't want it, that's on them. Like, I'm not for everybody. I can just say, I believe in my product. I know that this has helped like a lot of people, me included, my clients. I see it over and over again. And if you see like, oh, this could be something for me, great. But you're the one who makes that decision. I'm not forcing anybody. But what I'm also not doing is I'm not holding myself back and saying, oh, I don't want to convince anybody, and maybe they weren't sure. We all are like capable of making those decisions for ourselves. I cannot make that decision for you to invest in this course. And so you can't feel bad about like, okay, there's a price for it. Because maybe like people will feel obligated. Nobody's going to feel obligated. Nobody. Like, it's just like this. And then you might think like, oh, people will think I'm like, who do I think I am that like that this costs money? But you know what? You'll get over it. Like, that's really just, growing pains. Just do it. You have the price tag there. And then like after a week and people have seen it and saying like, oh, I'm never going to pay for that. Like, you can have it for free and people could say it's too expensive, and you can have it for $1,000 and there will still be somebody who says, this was exactly what I needed, and this is totally worth it. Right. So you just got to find your own, like the thing that you feel comfortable with. If you do the price tag too high, and this is also something you can remember when it comes to, let's say, getting a new job interview, right? If you aim for something that you don't feel like you deserve, you're gonna feel like you're a fraud. You're like imposter. If you go too low, you're always gonna feel like people are taking advantage of you, and you're gonna feel resentment. So we gotta like slowly accumulate to that. So let's say if you get like $60,000 a year right now, you would feel uncomfortable going for a job which would pay you, let's say, 100,000, but you would be okay with like going for 65 or 70. But once you're there, you get accustomed to that, and then you grow. Same thing with the prices. Okay, Purplefly said, I listened to your first so far. It's been very helpful, especially during the time. Happy to hear that. Okay. Okay. Okay, so CB said, by wealth management, do you mean investing or just simply being comfortable going after your highest earning potential? Like it didn't mean just investing. It can be investing if that's the way, but it's more like I want to, like, really from a monetary standpoint. The highest potential, like we're doing this in all of the 5 pillars. In all of them, we're aiming for like the next higher thing in us, because the specifically for most of us who are INFJs, personal development is like the shit. That's like the thing that makes us happy. We want to grow. Like, some people, let's say a lot of those sensors, and a lot of sensors, for example, love to do any kind of thing that is physically challenging to them. You see like sports people, and it just excites them. And for us, it's exciting to see how far can I bring my vision into reality. That's what makes us feel more alive. And with every step, we understand more of who we are. And so when wealth management, we're really talking about your salary. We're talking about, do you have a product that you sell that people will benefit from? Like if you're an entrepreneur, also, but also going investments. We're not talking about, okay, invest in those kind of stocks or anything like this. This is just like, I always say mindset is not, like I read it somewhere, it's not mine, but mindset is not the most important thing we have to do. Mindset is the only thing. You can learn everything else if you're interested in it, right? And investments is maybe not like the thing that excites most people. It's just like the matter of find it in your heart to see that it's a good thing to want to care about your wealth management and then to work on it. Christy says people need to totally change their belief system around money to jump to their next higher level to make a lot more money. Yes, exactly. It's belief systems. It's all kind of belief systems. And for the longest time, I felt like I would have to betray myself. I have to become something that I'm not. The only people that I saw at that moment who were making good money were working 90 hours a week, which is totally not necessary in order to create great results. And so like, and in a lot of ways I thought like, what for? It's not going to make me happy. I know it's different now because it just like, I don't buy more. Like I'm a very minimalistic person when it comes to, let's say, my wardrobe. I used to like buy so much more stuff. I don't own that much, but it just allows me to live the life I want and to help in the ways I want to, right? So yeah. Linda says, often we can do a lot with even a small amount of money if we manage it well. However, I'm still looking for ways to increase income. But yes, also being okay, like with where you are, and to, as I said, like, getting excited about saving, getting excited about like removing your debt, like stuff like this, like just removing this burden that we carry with us that money represents in most of our lives, because that's how culture is structured nowadays, and it holds us back in a lot of ways. So dude, I'm creating a course. It will help people with their health. It's hard for me to charge for my course. Selling is hard. That's what I'm saying. Just do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? People are not going to buy it. Like, give free advice and then always have an offer. That's the way, like, you can say, I'm helping people who don't, let's say, who wouldn't have the chance to invest in it. That's it. And then who wouldn't have the chance, like if you feel like I'm a bad person if I charge, because I want to help people. That's my thing. I want to help people. Then do it like this, like give free great information, and if people want more, then they invest in them. And because like in the end, like let's say, just as an example, your course would cost $50, and you would think well, isn't that like asked too much? Well, if your course really helps somebody to get healthy, what are $50 in comparison to, let's say, all those McDonald's meals that they have been eating, all the, let's say the cigarettes they've been smoking, like health bills, like stuff like this. Like, so it like the hard part comes from you feeling like you're not worthy. Like this is also something we study and learn in boot camp. We have like those assignments that push ourselves to do something that gets us out of our comfort zone. So just start with something, like an amount, like where you feel like it makes me uncomfortable, but it's not like overwhelming. I'm not gonna like get sick over it. And if right now you're at a point where you feel like I'm not even able to charge anything, then start with like $5, like, and keep it at $5 for like a month. And then you feel like comfortable enough to raise it to 10, and then so on. Hi, Darren. Okay. Dandon says, promoting your own material is inner dualization what used to be about abilities and a sign of growth. Yes, exactly. Nayeli says, any advice for someone that is just beginning their laboral journey, still a student living with my parents? Well, same thing. Like it doesn't have to be like a bad thing. Like even when you say, okay, I'm starting off my journey, well, the better, the less mistakes you've made so far. So let's make a plan. Like we talk so much about goal setting. Like where do you want to be? What kind of what are your financial goals? Do you have any debts that you want to remove? And in a lot of ways this comes also in the physical energy management part when we start visualizing where do you want to live? What kind of apartment do you want to live when you move out? What kind of income would that need? And how much are you willing to sacrifice for it? And so if we don't even know that, how are we supposed to go towards that? Remember, if we don't set goals in any of those 5 areas, you're going to always fall into default. And default is always what your environment wants of you, what's just happening around you. And it's going to keep you back. And if it were that you say, oh, it makes me so happy how everything is being in default, you wouldn't be watching this today. This program wouldn't be for you. Great for you. Congratulations. But most of us feel like something is missing. And what I'm saying is that this should not be neglected just because it isn't my purpose, right? Include that into your purpose and it will fuel your purpose, right? Okay, I'll go a little bit more, a couple more questions before we go into the vocation part. Mohammed says motivation speaker is my dream. Great. Just look it up. How am I going to build that? That's a great thing for the vocation part, which we're going to talk about. So Lauren asked, and then what do you mean by inner dualization? Maybe he will answer, but I think I know what he means. The thing is this, going more into integrating your SE, the real world things, saying I'm not waiting for others to do the real world action for me. Me charging for my work is saying I'm taking care of that, right? And the dual is for the INFJ, the ESTP. So getting leaning into that and taking more, becoming more and SE and TI driven. Okay. Okay. Yes. Seth B says, yes, you and everywhere else do better when you can earn a living doing something you love and that helps others and you grow. Completely right. Oh, then even answered you. Okay. Yeah, of course. But remember this, most of the time it's not possible to do this all at once. If ZB says it towards the problem with charging for your own course, remember why you're doing this in the first place. There is it makes you uncomfortable. It may be an ego loss because people are not going to think you're this generous person, but you know that this is part, the more income you create through this, guess what? You can help people more. Because if you don't have any money, you don't have any time to do even more. You don't have time to promote it. You don't have time or money to promote it. You don't have money in order to get it in front of people. So with every single thing that you bring in, you allow your gifts to reach more people and to help even more people. So it doesn't have to be a trade-off. Yeah, and Chrissy says, give it to some beta users for free. Here, Christy has an idea for the course thing with the charging. Give it to some beta users for free, gather testimonials and feedback about the value they got. This will help you feel good about charging in the future. Exactly. Great way. Okay, Duke says, thanks, very helpful. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so Vanetta asked, do you think an abundance meditation is helpful? Yes, I do. I completely do that because it the abundance meditations that you do, they help you to see it through the lens of positivity. They help you to understand that it's all about energy and that there shouldn't be any, most of the time, the reason why we don't go for money is shame, guilt, and all of those things. And in order to feel that's just natural, we breathe in, we don't feel bad about it. We don't worry about, okay, I'm taking somebody else's air away or anything like this. anything at all. So of course, when you like that's the kind of thing, if you do more of those abundance meditations and you look into this, it helps you to see that this is a great thing. Like one of the biggest lessons I learned was to see money as my friend. Like I don't know like how it is like Ice Age, the movie. I don't know how it is in English, but in German the mammoth like is called money, right? Money, but like the name Mani, and that like. But so I try to remember. Oh, okay, so I can actually look at this is my friend Money, and she's here and she's right next to me and we're best friends and I'm taking care of her and she's taking care of me. So I don't neglect like I used to neglect like a lot of things and not wanting to look in that direction. And so through a lot of those abundance meditations, practices, things you learn, like the abundance mindset behind it, you can see it as like something like I can guarantee you like a year ago, I would never been able to talk like this about money how I do now. Because this is probably the thing I learned last. But that's why I included it, because the moment I started including this and saw this as something like, this is like like we're good friends and we're helping each other and we create abundance, I was able to, not only create a lot more income for myself and, a lot more abundance, but I was actually able to help so many more people. Like I was holding myself back because of that. Jordan's, yes, hi, doing super, super great, amazing, great. Charles, if you missed anything, watch it later. Guys, just a reminder, bootcamp is launched. Like we have 48 hours for the early bird price. If you haven't received an email yet because you're on the newsletter or on the on the waiting list, you can sign up below and get access to the early bird price. Remember, only 48 hours, and altogether you can sign up for only a week because we're starting next Saturday and we're not going to have late admissions. Okay. Okay, Bram says, is there just one vocation or can I live an equal great life combining 2 or 3 things? What is your perspective on this? Because I'm interested in creating things psychology and acting. Yeah, and I always felt like I wanted to do a lot of things. Great, perfect segue to vocation. No, I don't believe it's one thing. Like when I say one thing, it's your thing. And if your thing is to do those things, all of them, why do you have to choose? That's your vocation. Your vocation is to do all 3 things. Like sometimes you can combine all of them. Sometimes you do them separately, but I don't see any reason why you should ever have to make a choice. You can start like acting and then, getting into psychology and doing something creative. And there are 3 different fields. And maybe once you start doing all of them on a regular basis, you can see, oh, actually this pulls me a little bit more now. Like I want to have all of them in my life. But once they're all in my life, I recognize that I want actually a little bit more of this. But it can be that you say, I want all of them at the same time, right? So, but I think like the biggest problem with vocation is that most of us don't even know, first off, what that is. So let's say pretty much your purpose. We don't know what it is. So we say like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know any of that. And what I have developed in order to work on that is like my 3-step process. The first thing is that you look at how do you want the world to see you? Like from a very, like it might sound ego-driven perspective, but it's just like easier to learn it this way. In a way of, okay, not like how society sees me, how this, but like, what is like your most inner being? Like, how do you want that to be seen out on the outside? And to start asking yourself the questions. And what we work with a lot is, for example, the archetypes. And I think like the spiritual archetypes, the 7 archetypes. It's it's yeah. I didn't. I wasn't. I didn't know it was you. But I'll read your question in a minute. We don't really know that. So the archetypes help us a lot in just having like a first thing we can project on. So for example, do you feel like a king? Do you feel like a priest? Do you feel like a warrior? Like all of this. And most of the time, like it helps us have like a first imprinted thing. Like for me, it was always the priestess. I never felt like it was warrior and priestess, but I wanted to inspire people to, see their potential. That's what made me happy. And most of the time you're already doing it. That's the whole thing. Like you're already doing it. You're probably not doing it in a healthy way. But so looking for archetypes that represent how you want to be seen in the world. and to just start with something and to kind of lean into it and like figure it out. Like it's more like, okay, let me put on this role and see how much it fits me. Because if you look at it and you say, oh, this actually fits more to me, and then you see like how you've been acting maybe like the damsel in distress or the person who's always giving or always the martyr, when in the end, in order to make your, in order to make your dream a reality, you have to be more of a warrior. That's like something I learned. I learned that I had to be okay with me being a woman, me feeling okay with myself, and still being like a warrior who gets out and like does things that nobody around me dares to do. Like being okay with that, right? So that's the one part. The other part is to say, like, how do you want to serve? So, like, how do you want to serve? How do you want to contribute to the world? And as I said, this is something that we do all the time already. We just do it towards the people that don't understand us. That's most of the reasons why we feel misunderstood. Like it's like saying, actually, I have like this great way of teaching people. Like I had one of my clients, she was telling me this. I think this is totally okay if I say this. She said, I want to teach people like how to learn something, like a process of learning. That's what I love to do. And every time she says something, like that's what she wants to convey. But she talks to like people who are not open to this, who have no understanding of this. And every single time she gets the rejection feedback. I used to want to help people understand all of their potential. And I went and did it with narcissists who like just like abused this. I talked to people who had no interest in this. And so I continuously got the rejection over and over again. But once I understood that this is actually how I want to serve, and I want to serve it so much that I actually do it in relationships that are like not the best place to do this at, right? You create codependency and so on. So, this is what we figure out. And, once you figure this out, you look for the sweet spot. Right? You look for the sweet spot. And then once you have that sweet spot, you say, okay, what are the steps I could do towards that? Right? And then with every single step you take, it becomes more clear. You understand yourself better. You understand, okay, this is actually what I love to do even more. And you're not doing this necessarily for the validation. It comes like at some point, but in the end, you do it because of you love the fact that you're doing it. Like, remember, like if you're talking to that friend over and over again who keeps rejecting you because you want to like share your artistic side with them, you do that despite the fact that you're going to get hurt for it. So you're going to do this either way. We're just going to find a healthy outlet for it. And then it's on time, like to say, okay, how can I actually even make it profitable at some point, like ideally as soon as possible. So you learn that it's okay, because like that way you just teach your mind what I have to offer to this world. Just because it's not what the general public doesn't mean that it's not worth it, like worth something, because there are always people who want exactly that, who will live a life better because you shared your artistic side or because you shared the way you think about learning and so on. Okay, let me go back to the questions. Okay, Zena. So let me say, I'm excited to feel like I belong in the realm of outwardly interesting people. I want to be a life artist and to be surrounded by other artists. Yes, great. Like, see, like once you know this, okay, I probably shouldn't be in the accounting world. Like for like, I have to find already now, starting now, like an outlet where I can do this. It has to, like, if we don't define these things, we're going to make those decisions based on how we currently feel. And most of the time, like, let's say when I was at my last job, like at some point, like I was working so much and that I couldn't see anything outside of that. The reason why I was then able to say, okay, that's it for sure, was once I did like went 4 weeks to Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and so on. So like I did that. And then all the time when I was there, and afterwards I had like a foot surgery, so I was also a little bit at home. Not for 1 second did I think, okay, I want to go back to work and I want to do this. My thoughts were, okay, what am I going to do with my channel? How am I going to share my message? How will I impact people? And once you have like a little bit more clarity and like a little bit more distance to it, you see what you want more. So in the beginning, once you're still in the trenches, you gotta do like the things before it necessarily like feel like I know how to do this. You have to like look at, okay, let me make this list. Let me think about, how do I want to be seen? How do I want to serve? Then let me think, like, what do I have in my life that works towards that? And if you don't have that, you start adding that. And that's going to take a little bit of energy in the beginning. That's why physical energy management is so important, right? But once you start, you go a little bit more into that direction. It's like, I always say, okay, you climb up that mountain, and once you're on that mountain, you have such a better view of, this is actually where I wanted to be. But I couldn't see that down there with like where I'm at right now, where everything's happening around me. We have to make like those first steps in order to help ourselves. Okay, Gigaria says, I have a friend who is depressed, failed the subjects at college over a year, pathetic, him wishing to skip some scenes from his life by all means. Okay, why does that, like, how, like, is why, okay, hold on, you're right. I love him so much, but then I realized that he was emotionally abusing me without conscious, like, you mean like subconsciously. But distance now out the relationship is what I did great. Okay, all together. Don't worry about him. That's the whole thing. Like, that's how it starts. Like, like you could say, like all of us, like, we think like, oh, I want to help that person. You have to be the center. You have to be the person who is helping yourself the first. Like, it can never be that you help another person more than you help yourself, because if you are not in a good space, you cannot help that person. Like, the fact that we're not thinking straight in that direction. The more you build yourself up, I always say you give out of the cup that's overflowing. That's also what the 5 pillars are about. Like, build on yourself. The people that you have in your life and that you help, they don't lead you away from your purpose. Your purpose cannot be that you give parts of you up in order to help that other person, right? So you might not want to hear it, but that's exactly what I want to say. Like, focus on you. And I know how hard it can be if you've been like obsessed over that person for a long time. That's why we say, like, start small, but start building on all of those 5 pillars, because with every single step that you take and that you move on, and specifically if you have like a group around you, like in a boot camp or something, you see, okay, actually, this is better for me. Like, because I've never experienced somebody who's worked on themselves and then realized, oh, that was a bad mistake. I should have gone back to that other direction where I neglected myself and was helping other people. But because you realize, I can help people so much more now than I could before. I was like giving out of like the little energy that I had left. Now I can give so much more. And it's like an energy you exude. Yeah, Zena says, always do what is best for you, especially in that situation. Yes. Okay. So let me go to the last one, priority management. So one of the most important things when it comes to priority management is the question of prioritize what is important over what is urgent. What is urgent are things like, I need to do laundry. What is important is I need to write an application to get a better job. Because come Saturday, like, if you don't write an application for, let's say you have a job, but you're unhappy at that job. But like from the outside, your parents don't bother you, your friends don't bother you. Nobody really looks at like that something is wrong with your life, because guess what? Everybody's focused on their own life. So nobody's going to come up to you. You're going to have no external pressure to start writing on your book, create a course, apply for a better job, work out, like work on your sleep. You're not going to have any of those external pressures at all. And on top of everything, these things are never, ever urgent. They never are. Like writing your book, not urgent. Like applying for another job when you have another job, not urgent. But those things are the important ones. And the more often we prioritize what is important over what is urgent, as in, okay, my friends call that's the whole thing. I've seen this so often. So let's say your friends call you on a Saturday and say, okay, I need your help. Can you help me with this and this? Most of us will say, of course, I'll drop everything and I help you. I'd rather do this than, write on my book, for example. But if you would have a job, you would tell your friend, I would love to help you, but I have a job. I can't leave. That's because you have an obligation to somebody else. But if you say, I have an obligation to myself that on Saturdays in the mornings, I'm doing this. And if for some reason I want to switch it up, then I know I'm going to make sure I'll do it on Sunday. But I'll not miss this. Like when I started this channel, like every Sunday I woke up, I got myself ready, and I did 2 videos. Like I did this in the beginning, always on Sundays. And as I said, there was nobody who would tell me, like who cared? Like it's not like somebody, like my life would have changed or I would have any kind of negative consequence from it. But I knew that I needed to prioritize the things that are important in my life. And that is all of the 5 pillars. That is vocation. That is the wealth management. That is your relationships and physical energy management. Because the thing is this, if you do prioritize them, your life gets better. It's like you take on a little bit more responsibility for your life. And it might seem like it's harder than, to lay out and, watch TV, because it's an energy thing. It really is. Like I've told you this like a couple of times. You cannot imagine how hard in the beginning it was for me to mobilize myself to record those videos. And this was so much harder than getting up, let's say at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Monday and going to work. I never had to wake up that early, but still this would have been easier for me than that mobilization that I had to do. That's because our mindset wants to keep us stuck right now at this default place. Writing applications when you don't need a job. This is draining in the beginning, but you start doing this, it won't be anymore. It's like you're starting to roll something, and once it gets rolling, it's easier. So we do this in the boot camp. You can do like with the schedules, right? We look at everything and say, what are you going to prioritize this week? What are you going to do that you're going to commit to? So you know that in the end of the day, you're proud of yourself, not because of the result, not because of what others might think, but because you knew that you made that promise to yourself and you kept it. And that feeling is amazing. I've said it before, like that's what builds real confidence. Confidence is not about people are going to like me, or, like some people say, it's about I'm going to be okay when people don't like me. Do you know how you're okay if other people don't like you? It's when you're proud of yourself. And most of the time, you're not proud of yourself for the things that look good on paper. So how many of us think like, yeah, I have that job because other people could say that I have that kind of job. Like it's okay. But you know that you're not really reaching into your potential. You're actually doing the easy route. Like I'm not saying like it's easy, you're still probably exhausted, but you know that your potential is actually to step out of the norm, to do something extraordinary. And as long as you feel like you're not going towards that, like you're always going to feel like there's something missing. And instead of like putting like all of this big pressure on you, you have like weekly things. We don't have to do a lot. We just have to do it consistently and grow. And before you know it, specifically as INFJs, we have that exponential curve and it just blows up. It gets easier and easier, but you have to make that decision to prioritize what is important in your life. And this is also always something, and 95% of the times, it's nothing that anybody is going to care about at all. You have to be the one who says, I will do this, because even if it, let's say, I never get famous for it, because like you think like that's the thing, which it never is. I know that I'm fighting for myself. I'm prioritizing my well-being by saying, no matter what, I didn't give up on myself. That is the good feeling. That is the feeling of excitement in life. And you can totally build that up. It's not like, don't believe like, oh, I'm not like this. I wasn't like this either. You build it up and then you get good at it. Okay. Underberger, where do you find energy for the transformation process if you're totally empty at current job and you can't quit because financial obligation? Very good question. You start with the physical energy management pillar. You start with the relationships. You start with like what you can do. So you can't quit your job right now, and you say, I don't have any energy left. Well, let's first off work on your energy, because like you can stay at the same job, you can do this, but you can like be able to not be get like so much impacted by other people's energy. You can work on your sleep, you can work on your meditation, on your visualization. You generate more energy and you remove so many things that drain you from energy. Maybe you can't remove your job right now, but what about your relationships? What about like the way you communicate with your coworkers? What about like, any kind of relationships you have with family members that are draining? What about like, the, there are ways to do that, right? And at the same time, you can say, well, what little step can I do in that transformational period? Because the moment you start doing this, it generates more energy. It's like the closer you get to who you really are, and the more you do that, it's like you're more in the flow. Everything gets easier. It 100% is like this. 100%. So every energy that you can build up, you use for that. You minimize all that kind of energy that you've put into any kind of social obligations that you thought you had to do, people you thought you had to keep up with, talk with, la la la. Like I gave so much up. I gave up my party life. I gave up caring about that if some people thought I was cool or not. Like giving that mentally up, removing clutter. This is also mental clutter, but also physical clutter. We talk about in the first pillar. It generates more energy, so you can do this. And hopefully that's the whole thing. Like if you, for example, in the vocation process, if you figure out what it is, like if you take the little energy that you have to figure out this is as much as I know right now of who I want to be and how I want to get there, what happens is you're like, okay, that's like this is as close as I can get. I've taken my time. Like I have that little energy left and I'll take it because on Saturday I sat down, I figured this out, I wrote it down. And then my goal for next week is to think about what little steps I can do weekly to go towards that. Right. And you just start like slowly. That's the whole thing. Right. And like for me, I've made it a point to like, I've worked through and I've gotten to a point where I did it for myself. And as I said, it's extremely helpful if you have accountability people around you. Like it does. You feel like that energy, it pulls you with them. So if you can have like an opportunity to join boot camp, I always think this is the best way to do it. If you feel like I cannot do this or I'm not ready for it or whatever, like your reason is, try to find some kind of other accountability partners. It's like it makes it so much easier. Okay. Charles says, this is what I needed to hear. Thanks. Glad. I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but that's good. Sebastian say, I want to change my job. Current salary isn't enough, but I like my current job and people I currently work with. How can I change my job? I feel that if I do this, I'll let my current coworkers down. Yes, I've been there. I know this. That's more like saying it's saying I love myself more than I love my coworkers. If you stay at that job, you're letting your coworkers, like if you leave that job, you're letting your coworkers down. Like most of the time they don't really, it's not that big of a deal. But let's say if you leave that job, you're letting your coworkers down. If you stay at your current job, you're letting yourself down. So this is a rational thing right now, because most of the time, if you're in it, your mind will like you're still focusing more on how that makes other people feel. But it's like, okay, remember how you were like a little boy, like you're that adult for that little boy. And that little boy says, I'm not happy here. I'm not being appreciated, or I'm not getting the salary I want. I love my coworkers, but like, I think I deserve a better life. And then you as an adult come and you say, little Sebastian, like, I know this is what you want, but I'm not going to listen to you. I'm rather going to listen to my coworkers and not put them down. Like sometimes I say it like harsh like this to myself. So I know, okay, no, like, how can I do this? How can I neglect my inner child in order not to let other people down? Like they have the biggest responsibility for them and you have the biggest responsibility for yourself. Like this is just like the mindset shift that has to happen, because like people, like if people like you, it's because you're a great person, but that shouldn't feel you can't go and aim for better things, because that's just telling yourself, my little child wants something, needs something, and I don't feel like giving it to him because my coworkers are more important to me. Like say it extreme like this and you'll change your mind quickly. Okay. Sam says, I watched your child trauma video. I tried the techniques and that felt great. It feels as if it's for short duration and I need some more practice. Is there anything you can suggest me about this? Well, like I just said that, no, actually it's the same thing. Like I really don't do anything else than this. I do a lot of forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean that you have to like redo the relationships altogether. But I do this over and over again and until it's like, okay. And a lot of people do EFT, like the tapping. It just helps you to kind of like remove that little, the stress factor, the fight or flight system when you say like, okay, although I feel like shame because of this and this and this, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And I mean, I've said, I think in that video, if it wasn't in the video before, with once you know like in what body part it is, you can abstract yourself from the current situation to know like, okay, this is not happening because of this right now. This is happening because of something back then. Let me redo this. But no, actually it's the same thing and I do it over and over again. And this helps me the most. I don't need like more that I do. Okay, Zena says here, I'm slowly learning two kinds of selfishness, one healthy, one damaging. Parents didn't know the difference. I was heavily conditioned, kind, compassionate, etc., to only put others first. Yes, there's such a like graceful way to put yourself first. Like you're not taking anything away from anybody. Like this, the great example with the coworkers. Like in that moment, you feel like you're taking something away from them by leaving. Right? But in the end, like that's just a perception, right? And perception is that you're taking anything away from them. When in the end, you could actually benefit. You could also be thinking about all the new people that you're gonna benefit with your presence. They had your coworkers had like your gift. And your coworkers were able to experience that gift, and that's so good. And like, there should be gratitude, like, that you're able to be part of their life and that you're part of their life. And now you're moving on because like your growth is always the center of everything. And you're the leading character of your movie. And then you get to impact new people and create even more joy and even more abundance and help people even on a bigger scale, right? Johannes, yeah, hi, nice to see you. Okay. Okay, Varel says, when's the next bootcamp after the upcoming one? Very rough estimate. I don't know. Like in a couple of months, maybe. Like we'll have this year. This is the second this year, and we'll have a third one. But I don't know if we'll have a fourth one. It depends on like how many people sign up and how big the channel grows and so on. So I don't know, in a couple of months. So I would say like do the boot camp now. Like it's why not? Like it's gonna be amazing. Like I think now in springtime, with Corona currently happening and like all of it, it's the perfect time. So I'm really looking forward to it. Like I know the first one I did was a little bit of a beta version. I kept it small. I wanted to get some testimonials, understand how it's working. And so now I'm ready and like I'm promoting it because I know like the feedback was so good. The testimonials were so great. And the people are coming back. So, I know, like I feel even more confident about sharing this. Alan says, you said there are 3 things for vocation. How do you want the world to see you? How do you want to serve? And what is the third thing? The third thing is the sweet spot of them. That's what I meant with the third thing. A 3-step process. How do you want to be seen? How do you want to serve? And what is the sweet spot of this? Like if you don't have the poster yet, like download it, then the free poster there, it says it as well. That's what I said, 1, 2, 3, but in the end, of course, it's like it all comes together. Princess Pat, hello. Okay, Valar says, okay, thank you, because I can't afford it right now with the virus going on. I would sign up now if I could, so I'm going to save up for the next one. Great, like whenever you can. Like there's definitely going to be a next one. And like there's so much free material. Use this as well. That's I have the workshop. Like I want everybody to be able to do something. And I feel like I personally I feel it's a great investment if you can do it in any way, because like it's like financially also going to be beneficial for you. So in a lot of ways we have to like move, like pay forward, so to say, right? To say like, okay, I trust that if I go into this direction, this will actually generate a better life for me, better income, better all of this. So very often I've I've been in situations where I felt like, oh, should I invest this? And every single time I felt great about it. Oh, by the way, there is a 7-day money back guarantee. Like, and not like if you book now, like it's a 1 week after the first session. So if you feel like, okay, we started this boot camp and then I recognize, not really for me, you can still, say, get back and say that's not for me. But I believe, I believe it's just like a great thing, and nobody has requested any money back so far, and everybody was really happy. So I'm really excited, and yeah. Sebastian said, you really helped me with this for workshops, also with the other videos. I'm so happy, guys. So we're at 1 hour. I am glad you like the workshops. With like, whenever we're doing a boot camp, hopefully like we either do workshops like this or something similar. Like I'll see how this has been. Share with everybody that the bootcamp is online. Like, help me promote it for everybody who's interested. This is an amazing thing. We're gonna have so much fun and so much success. So share that message. And yeah, I wish you a great weekend. And for the ones who signed up for the bootcamp already or are signing up the next days, I see you on Saturday, and then we go deep. Okay, have a great one. Talk to you soon. Bye. Okay.